you can see this from anywhere. So you can see how your factory is doing from the other side of the planet, as long as they just enter in those 3 pieces of information every day. The over the line chart concept, I think, is new for a lot of people. Brad and I have been talking about it for a very long time. So this is my over the line chart here. We'll zoom in a bit. So this line at the top, $30,000 straight across, that is my break-even line that I defined in my settings. And I said I need to make $30,000 a month in order to just break even. The burn rate is my break-even line projected across the number of days in the month. So you can see it's a diagonal line here. The blue bars are my throughput dollars that I've keyed in every day. There's my throughput dollars, 3,500, 5,000, 6,250. It's cumulative. So if I don't key anything in, it's just going to stay there, stay the same as it was before. And then as I key something in on that day, it's going to add it to the previous days. If I truly made nothing today, it's going to be the same as yesterday. So in this case, you can see we just barely made it over the line. We just barely broke even that day. So we must have had a big problem on Monday. Our throughput wasn't as good as it had been previously. As soon as I'm above that line, I'm above my break even. Ultimately, I need to get above this line at the end here, right? So if I go key some more data in, don't be afraid to start out. Don't worry about how precise your numbers are. Start using it. And as you use it and as you look at this every day, you're going to ask different questions. You're going to start fine tuning your numbers. Don't worry about having them precise when you start out. The more important thing is that you just start using this and start learning from it as you're using it. So I just filled out the whole month. So you can see, yay, we made some money this month. We're above the line. I also, we have a bonus here. Latest bonus amount will show up if it's above 0. And that's we've factored in the break-even line plus the 5%, and then 10% above that is this number here. So you can see if you have a bonus. And then once you finish entering in, you click overview, it forces you to save, and then it has an impact on this graph here. So how we use this graph. So when we had a workshop with Bo, and he explained that when he rolled this out to his team, and I'm not saying you're going to do this right away, but this is kind of with the end game in mind. When he rolled this out to his team, immediately his team started to think of, how can I impact this? So there's 2 ways to impact this bonus, and that is to raise throughput dollars or to lower this expenses line, right? So now your employees are thinking more like owners when you get to the point where you're sharing this with people, and they're coming up with ways to reduce your expenses and coming up with ways to improve your processes so that you can get higher throughput dollars. In the case of the example that Bo gave us, which I thought was fantastic, he said his maintenance guy came up to him and said, 2 days after they started showing this to their people, he came up and said, listen, if we do staggered start times in the morning with equipment, we won't get charged that peak rate when we fire everything up at the same time. That guy knew that all along. He just wasn't motivated to think like an owner until they shared the information with people and said, listen, we're going to split some profit with you guys. Let's figure out how we can get a better throughput and lower that expense line. So the more people that get involved in this, the more you have these guys thinking like owners and impacting this. Again, I realize it's something it's kind of scary. Brad, why don't you talk about your experience sharing it with your people?
So what ends up happening is everybody is afraid, like, oh, if I show everybody how much money we're making, yada yada yada. Well, first, you're a woodworker, so you're probably not, banking $6 million for yourself a month and stiffing your employees.
But they think you are.
Yeah, right now that's the assumption. And so as soon as we showed people this, they're like, oh, it cost you $118,000 to keep the lights on. We had no idea. Like, they just translate sales into money into our pocket, right? So if we sell $500 worth of doors, they think Brad just made $500. And when you show them the chart and you're like, most of the days we're under that line, it's like, hey guys, the reality is different. But what ends up happening is, even when you start busting over that line, it becomes a race. How fast can we get over the break-even line? And they don't even care about how much money you as a leadership team is making. they just focus on the bonus number. They're just like, I want to see that bonus number going up. You know, okay, we get to split, in this case, $394. Man, let's make it 500. Come on, guys, we can do this. So really by motivating them with that bonus, it's sad that a paycheck is just expected, but that's reality. And when you give free money, that's a pretty exciting bonus. And you're in total control of that number. You can say, we're going to keep 10% in the company and we're only going to dish out 5%. Whatever. This is just what we do at my company, is a 5%, 10%. You can adjust those numbers however you see fit. You know, start off small and increase them over time, or whatever. But people will just focus on that bonus number as the only number they look at. And then when you post this every day, you get to clap at your morning meeting like, hey, did we make it over the line? Like, are we on track this month to hit that break even line?
The real reason we want to use this chart every day, even if it's just you or you and your management, is I want to know, did we hit break even today? And if not, what are we going to do about it? This is let's get the team together and figure out, how's tomorrow going to be different than today? What happened today? Were you starved for parts at the control point? Did you have quality issues? The shop's always going to slow down to the rate they're being fed. Did the hidden factory not have a big enough buffer in front of you? Did we have some machines down? Whatever it is, you're going to learn that day what the problem is, and then you're going to be formulating a plan for tomorrow and the next day on how to recover or minimize the impact. But today, most of us are waiting, 4, 5, 6 weeks to get our month end from accounting to tell us we had a really bad month in October. Well, first of all, it's too late to impact that. And second of all, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what the problems were. We all start making things up, and it's gone. It's too far in the past. This is every single day we're looking at this chart going, did we get above the line today? Great, celebrate. If we didn't, how's tomorrow going to be different? It's an action plan every day. What are we doing? Maybe you got above the line and you were like, oh, it's pretty close. How are we going to do even better tomorrow?
And if it's a big, say it's a big job, and we're going to get into this with throughput dollars per labor hour, or minutes per piece. That's why this whole dashboard is like flying an airplane. There's not one gauge that says I'm flying. There's like 50 gauges that all tell you you're doing the right thing. And so this throughput is just one of the 4 gauges that you need, but we're posting daily. So even in a big custom thing, I'm building a reception desk. That reception desk is going to be worth X number of pieces or points. We'll get into that. And every day, the guy building it is going to guess at how far he got. And he's going to post those numbers. And so you're still getting a daily read, even in the most custom of operations, on what's going on. And you can post those estimated daily throughput dollars as well.
The other point of this chart is I was helping a customer remotely manage their shop. And these are all the graphs that I asked them to make available to me so that I could see. So, and the reason for that was because, when I'm on an airplane with Brad, he's looking at this, he can see how his factory's doing. He has all your guys were sending you, at the end of the day, they were effectively sending you all this information. You can see this from anywhere. So you can see how your factory's doing from the other side of the planet, as long as they just enter in those 3 pieces of information every day. So now we're going to go down to throughput dollars per labor hour. This graph here, this dial is showing you by the end of the day, yesterday, October 16th, here's where we were. You can see we're in the red. We're not where we said we want it to be, because we keyed in the min and max, right? That was what our intentions were. So either my min and max is way off, or we need to do a lot better. That's what that's telling me. This graph here is the same information, but it's plotted over 4 weeks. And the reason we do that is because we want a trend line. Are we getting better or getting worse or staying flat? So in this case, I can see I am trending up with my throughput dollars per labor hour. So my team is doing a great job. We're heading in the right direction consistently. You told me how many hours were in a day in that settings page, and you told me how many people were in the building.
And your labor, is that your shop labor or total employees in the bit?
That's the $1 million question. I would say it depends on how you want to use the chart. So everybody in the building should be contributing to throughput. If they're not, maybe you need, you need to ask them to leave. Like,
Well, but they are contributing in some way, shape, or form, right? So it,
100%. Yeah, everybody should be contributing.
if your throughput dollars per labor hour is going up, it might be because your engineering department made some big improvements. If your throughput dollars per labor hour are going down, it could be because you had some mistakes on your paperwork. It could be the sales guys, didn't get some answers and somebody made some assumptions. It's not just the guys on the shop floor. It's not just the direct labor on the shop floor. It's indirect and direct labor. If it was me, I would measure everybody in the building. I understand that mostly we're saying the production guys have the ability to make more today or less today, but I don't think that's really true unless, of course, you have a nice full buffer between the hidden factory and the shop and you're putting out 100% great quality. I would say measure them as a team.
You can just measure the factory people as well. If you feel I'm going to get more benefit out of this chart by just measuring the Gemba people, then fine. Either one is going to work. Just don't change it. That's the critical factor, is like don't 1 week measure everyone and the next week measure only the shop people and the week after measure everyone. Just get that line in the sand and then you'll see the improvements. If your engineers are making improvements, it should make everybody in the shop floor's life easier. So your throughput dollars per labor hour should go up. And then your throughput dollars per labor hour. This essentially is giving you a gauge on your labor effectiveness. So if I'm watching it, it doesn't matter what the number is. If it's like in this case, it's $17 yesterday. Well, we want to just see that, like, that red line's trending up. We just want to see it trending up. This is a line in the sand to say, hey, look, I just bought this brand new machine and I don't know if I made the right decision. Just watch your throughput dollars per labor hour. You should see an increase. Your labor should have got more effective because of that piece of equipment. Or if you hire someone, you should probably in the beginning see a little dip because they're training. But then you should see, if you're at $50 before, it dips to 45. Within a couple of weeks, it should be at 55 because that person should be contributing to throughput. So this is like bar none the absolute best gauge to double check your decisions.
Okay, so now we're going to move down to minutes per piece. And we got that with you told us how many pieces per day. So there's another dial indicator. I said between 20 and 25 was good. So when you're putting that range in, you're putting your yellow range in.
The importance of the minutes per piece is this is your direct link back to your estimating. So if you're producing cabinets or something, and then you're getting your minutes per piece every single day, you can feed that average, that 4 week rolling average, back to your estimator and say, hey, are you estimating enough time? Because did you know it's taking us 32.6 minutes per cabinet that we build? Oh no, I didn't know that. I was only calculating 20 minutes. Well, fix it. Or what do we got to do to get that time down? So this gauge is your link back to estimating, and this one levels the playing field on the next measurement, which is your pieces per day. So for your minutes per piece, if you have too many people on the job, your minutes per piece is going to go way up. And you might find, like this just happened to us last week, we accidentally found a sweet spot with labor on our shop floor because we watch our minutes per piece, and someone called in sick and someone got hurt, and it forced our labor down. Our pieces per day went down, but our minutes per piece was awesome. We went down to like 12 minutes or something, and we're usually like 17. So we got to identify a sweet spot in how much labor is effective on the shop floor. If you ask anybody on the shop floor, they'll just tell you we need more people. You want more stuff, we need more people. But in actual fact, when you're watching that minutes per piece, you're getting a totally different read. You're like, hey, when we have 9 people on the shop floor, our minutes per piece is X. When we have 12 people, our minutes per piece is Y. and you can compare that data. Next slide is pieces per day. And this is where you have to decide, how do I count a piece? And there's two critical factors to counting pieces. One is, if you're building cabinets, you just have to make it the same. What we do is we count panels in the doors. So a sink cabinet would be 2 doors with 2 panels. We'd say that's two points. An upper cabinet with 1 door would be 1 point. A pantry cabinet with 3 panels in it would be 3. We do that because it's easy. People can see it. They don't have to think about it. I can count it on an elevation, on a drawing. It's just easy. Remember, we're not filing our taxes by any of these measurements. We're just trying to make decisions on the shop floor. So the next hurdle is, wait a second, I'm building a reception desk. How many pieces is that? For anyone who's doing custom measuring, you just need to flip pieces into points. If your reception desk is worth $10,000, you might say, we're going to establish a baseline of 1 point equals $1,000. So then your estimator, if he estimates a $10,000 reception desk, will write on the drawings 10 points. And then he flips the page to a custom wall panel and it's $15,000. He'll write 15 points, and he'll flip the next page and it's a planter box, 2 points. And then, so as your people are building it, they can still post points. They hit the button on the production timer every time a point crosses the finish line. Then your minutes per piece turns into minutes per point. So you still have the feedback loop to estimating, saying, hey, did you know for every $1,000 we produce, it takes us 92 minutes. But the numbers
They're
have to
looking at the whole, they're looking at the whole dashboard in the morning, right, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, how are they entering the data?
That is that there's those 3 pieces of information, right? How many pieces did you make? Right? So we're asking you here to put your throughput dollars in, number of people and pieces made. So once you put that in, that's where we're getting all the data from. So you told us how many people were in the building and you told us how many pieces that you made.
He's asking who's doing that.
Oh,
Yes.
So your number of pieces for the day are captured on the production timer, which you should be running. And then so that I just have the guys in the shop text it to me, like how many doors got made that day, and they text it, and Craig inputs the info.
I'm going to show you the historical portion here too. So you can go back and look at other months. I don't have any data here because we just started this. So I don't have anything back there. But if I leave that blank, we take the same burn rate over the line chart and project everything across a year. So I have some data in here for October. If I had been using it every month up until now, we would see these big cumulative bars. So it's the same graph that you're looking at when we're looking at the month, just projected across the year. So we can tell if we're getting better over month, are we getting better throughout the year as well?
And
So
each one of these gauges a little double check for the other one, right? So if you see your throughput dollars going up, your throughput dollars per labor hour starts creeping up, then you should be able to watch your minutes per piece or your minutes per point should be shrinking. And so it's like, okay, good little double check. Yep, that says that, that says that. We're on the right track. You should see your pieces per day going up. But pieces per day on its own is a terrible measurement, because if your goal is 100 pieces or 100 points per day and you hire 10,000 people to do it, you're going to think you hit your target, but you're going to be bankrupt in a day. And the throughput dollars per labor hour will increase on your high octane products. So you can look at it and say, well, for the last 2 weeks, we've been making, multifamily homes, and our throughput dollars per labor hour were $40. And then we started making these custom ones and it went up to 62. Okay, well, I'm not a genius, but I'm going to focus on the high octane products. So you're not just, you can gear your sales efforts because you actually have the data. right now, we don't even know. We're like, oh, we think we make more money on that. We think we make more money on that. When in actuality, like the numbers just don't lie. Like since we started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago, it was all convoluted in Google spreads. Like it's such a nightmare to manage, but I don't even know how I would function without it. And now it's all just like you just put in 3 pieces of information every day. Like we love it. And it's giving us the data we need on a daily basis to make some serious decisions.
Yeah, Sam Meyer, he's on the chat, and he was on Tuesday's meeting, and he just could not say enough. He said, I just started using this a few weeks ago, and he said it's just mind blowing what he's learned about his business alone, just using that, just setting this up.
I mean, every day if you're on track for making money that month versus looking at your financial statements 15 days after month end and going, oh, we didn't do very good. Okay, we'll just try harder next month.
Do better next month.
Yeah, it just gives you a level of visibility that is just unparalleled. You'll see right away.
You were even
And-
saying that it might even give you a measure of what estimators' jobs are more profitable.
Yeah,
Yes. You're going to have a very short feedback loop on everything you do. It's and actually Sam called me after yesterday's meeting and said, I don't know if everybody really gets it yet. And I said they won't until they start using it. Once you start using this, use this for 2 months and tell me, and then I'm going to ask you if I can take it away. That's the whole point, right? Like he's still reeling from it. He's the one that called us last week when we were doing the podcast and said, wow, this actually, I just realized that we're grossly underestimating our capacity in the shop when we're bidding on jobs because we're taking all that material into account.
yeah, getting your throughput dollar is so critical for all of us in manufacturing. Yeah, I know, like, especially in custom, it's like a little bit more work, but if you push it far enough up the chain to your estimator, he's already doing that. He's the only one that's got a spreadsheet somewhere with all the material and all the labor, and he can pull that material out in an instant. So he's the one that can just, and even if you just scribble on the drawings or type them, like whatever you got to do, you get those throughput dollars or those points written on the drawings. So the guys going through the shop know how many times they push the button on that production timer. And then at the end of the day, the production timer's counting your pieces. So now you're only down to 2 data points to get all of this information. Like, get it done. You're going to be blown away by what happens. Blown away.
And more importantly, you're training your management staff to think like this, right? If they don't see this data today, they're helpless. They're helpless, and morale goes in the wrong direction when you punish me for not doing a good job and I have no way to measure to how I'm doing and nothing to see the impact. So once you give this to your production manager or your high level team leaders out there, now they got something that they can work with. They got something that they can drive and they can see. I mean, they've been driving with a blindfold on. That's another metric we didn't talk about. Morale goes up when people can see and have an impact on those numbers. It is the single most undervalued thing I think you could possibly do. I will never live without one of these ever.
What's the first thing we ask for everywhere we go? Like if someone calls us to
Yeah.
consult, it's like, okay, show us the last 6 months of data so we know we're improving. And then we just get crickets like, oh, we don't have 6 months of data.
Yeah, and really that's what this was born out of. When I would ask people to get these charts ready, this data ready for me in Excel, I would give them a template and say, can you get this ready? People would struggle through it or they would drag their feet on it. So we just said, listen, it's something that we can't live without. So let's just make it easy for people to use it. It should be a game changer for everyone if you're not doing this already. You're going to learn a lot about your business.